So, and along with that, you're going to put these recommendations in a written form and give them to the DEQ. I know you have a couple of representatives on the DEQ sitting on your board, and you have a couple of different scenarios that you've gone through. Can you explain some of those? One of them is the do nothing scenario.
Yeah, so the meetings, when we first started the meetings, we were kind of all over the place because it is such a complex problem, and we were talking about different solutions, and I thought we should come up with some high-level scenarios and say, okay, what happens if we do nothing? What happens if we just focus on drinking water and not really groundwater? Because the problem is that there's a lot of shallow wells, and people get their drinking water from the groundwater, so could we solve the problem there? And then another scenario is we need to monitor to see where the groundwater is getting contaminated and if it's getting more contaminated over time. And then a phased implementation approach where you address the areas that have the biggest concern and you do something there, but you don't do something all over. And then the one-size-fits-all scenario was really the scenario that the county tried, which got overthrown. So we put that in there, but we didn't spend much time talking about it.
So if we do nothing, what's going to happen? If we just say, okay, everything is fine right now, your septic system is working. If it's working, you got no problems. The drinking water tastes good. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so I think everyone knows. I mean, if you pour water on the soil here, it's just porous sand and it goes down. And so anything that gets poured on the ground or put into the ground will tend to travel down into the groundwater. And I know there was a picklerin herbicide sprayed in North Klamath County that got into the groundwater and was detected in some of the wells. Mm-hmm. So it's clear that we have really shallow groundwater, really porous soils, and that things that are put on the ground especially water-soluble things, will get down into the groundwater. Our soils actually do a very good job of filtering the pathogens that are in human septic, human waste, and so that's a really good thing that our soils do filter that. But there's a lot of things that are in people's, think of all the things you flush down the toilet, things you flush down the shop sink and those kinds of things. If they're water soluble, they will travel into the ground and down into the groundwater. And so if we do nothing, the real problem, especially in South Deschutes County, is they've got this advanced treatment systems that you have to put in now. If your system fails, you have to put in an advanced treatment system.
That's called the ATA system, I believe.
ATT.
ATT.
And I'm not very good with initials, so I call it ATT, and it's advanced treatment technology, I think, is the words for it. And so those things tend to cost a lot more money than, let's say, a sand filter, and definitely a lot more money than a standard system with a leach line and things like that. And they also have they're mechanical, so they have maintenance requirements. And there's some other things that make ATT systems not very, not very good. Not very good for, costs a lot of money. There's maintenance. If they're not maintained, they don't actually do what they're supposed to do. So that was the solution. And right now, if you have to replace a system or if you want to build, you have to put an ATT system. And so that's really the current state is everyone's going to have to put in ATT systems unless we come up with a new solution. And, the fact of the matter is that there is growing contamination, especially in dense areas where people are on, 1-acre lots. So there is increasing contamination in certain areas, not area-wide, but we all share the same kind of environment and ground system. So it will expand if we don't do something. So if we address some of the really hot spot areas, we may be able to get by without having everyone do something. So the do nothing is kind of you're stuck doing an ATT system, and the other thing with an ATT system is there's a lot of things it doesn't treat for, and so when people are taking pharmaceuticals and those kinds of things don't get treated by an ATT system. So we'd really like to see more community systems where you centralize the waste and process it that way, and so then you have better control over all the contaminants. So the do nothing is it's still going to cost us money, and there's going to be increasing contamination. So the do nothing, nobody on the committee thinks do nothing is the right solution at this point.
So